For 4 long years, a loyal dog sat in the same spot, day after day, season after season, waiting for the family who never came back. Passers-by thought he was just a stray. But one morning, something extraordinary happened. What unfolded next left the entire town in tears. The old roadside gas station stood silent, its rusted pumps long abandoned. Yet, every morning as the sun rose over the horizon, a familiar sight greeted travelers. A German shepherd sat at the edge of the cracked pavement, his ears alert, his eyes fixed on the long stretch of road. Day after day, through searing summers and bone-chilling winters, he never failed to appear. The wind carried dust across the highway, sometimes whipping around him, but he didn't move. His fur grew rough, his body lean, yet his gaze remained steady, always in the same direction, always waiting. Locals had grown used to him. Truck drivers slowed down just to glance at the lonely figure. Children asked their parents why the dog never left, and store owners left scraps of food by the station. But no matter how much time passed, he never wandered far. His loyalty was unwavering, his silent vigil unbroken. Travelers came and went, their cars pulling into the cracked parking lot for fuel or rest, only to find the same dog sitting there. Some shrugged it off, thinking he was just another stray, but others paused, drawn in by the way he stared down the endless road as if expecting someone. Truckers often tossed him sandwiches or bits of jerky, marveling at his patience. "That dog's got a story," one would mutter, shaking his head before climbing back into his rig. Families passing through left bottles of water by the old pump, children whispering, "Why doesn't he go home?" Over time, a quiet legend grew. People said he had been waiting for years, though no one knew for whom. Some claimed he was guarding something. Others believed he had lost his owner and refused to leave. But no matter the tale, one truth remained: his watch never ended. His silent loyalty left every stranger touched. Years earlier, the gas station had been alive with movement. Cars pulled in, children laughed as they stretched their legs, and a family with a German shepherd always stopped there. On their travels, the dog wasn't just a pet. He was their protector, their shadow, their constant companion. One fateful day, something changed. The family car broke down near the station, and circumstances spiraled beyond their control. A sudden emergency forced them to make a heartbreaking choice. With heavy hearts and promises whispered, they left the dog behind, believing they would return in a matter of hours. But hours turned into days, and days stretched into weeks. Life pulled the family far away, tangled in struggles they couldn't escape. For the dog, though, time froze at that single moment. He stayed rooted at the gas station, convinced that every sound of an engine might be the one to bring them back. Seasons rolled by, painting the desert road in shifting colors. In summer, the heat shimmered off the asphalt, yet the dog remained in his spot, panting but unyielding. In winter, frost clung to the ground, his breath forming clouds in the cold air, but still he watched the road, eyes steady and full of hope. Rainstorms drenched his fur, dust storms blinded the horizon, and blazing winds howled across the empty highway. Yet through it all, he never abandoned his post. His faith was unshakable, his spirit unbroken. He belonged to that place, tied not by chains, but by love and memory. The town began to notice. People started calling him the guardian of the road. Some shook their heads in pity, others smiled softly at his devotion. But to the dog, none of that mattered. Each sunrise was another chance, another hope that today would finally bring his family back. It was a quiet dawn, the kind when the world seems to hold its breath. The highway stretched empty under the pale glow of morning light. And once again, the dog sat at his post. His ears twitched at the sound of distant engines, but as always, he stayed still, waiting. Then, something shifted. A faint scent drifted through the air, familiar, comforting, unforgettable. His nose lifted, tail stiffening as a tremor of recognition coursed through him. His body tensed, muscles coiled like a spring ready to leap. For the first time in years, he rose from his spot. Headlights appeared on the horizon. The rumble of tires grew louder, and the dog's heart seemed to race with every passing second. His eyes locked on the approaching car, his body trembling with hope. This wasn't like the others. Somehow he knew. The moment he had waited for was finally drawing near. The car slowed as it neared the old gas station, its tires crunching against gravel. The German shepherd's body shook with anticipation, his tail whipping furiously against the ground. As the doors opened, familiar voices spilled into the air, voices he hadn't heard in years but had never forgotten. The family stepped out, frozen in disbelief. Their eyes widened as they saw him, thinner, older, yet unmistakably the same loyal companion they had once loved. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then, with a desperate cry, the dog lunged forward, leaping into their arms, whining with uncontainable joy. Tears streamed down faces as hands reached to stroke his fur, as if reassuring themselves he was real. The years of waiting melted away in a single instant. Passengers who had stopped to watch felt their throats tighten. After 4 long years of heartbreak, the impossible had happened. The dog's faith had been rewarded. Word spread quickly through the small town, and soon people gathered near the gas station. Some had watched the dog for years, leaving food by his side, quietly admiring his devotion. Now they stood with tears in their eyes, witnessing the reunion they had secretly prayed for but never truly expected. Children clapped, while elders wiped their cheeks, whispering, "He never gave up." For the townsfolk, this moment wasn't just about a dog and his family. It was about faith, loyalty, and the miracle of never losing hope. The story touched every heart that had once pitied his lonely vigil. The family, overwhelmed, explained their absence. Life's cruel circumstances had forced them away, but they had searched tirelessly, never knowing he had remained at the very spot they left him. The townspeople listened in awe, realizing they weren't just witnesses to a reunion. They were part of a living legend. The dog's loyalty had become everyone's miracle. That evening, the family opened their car door, and the German shepherd climbed inside without hesitation. For the first time in years, he wasn't waiting by the roadside. He was finally going home. His tail wagged furiously as his head rested on the lap of the child he had once protected. The townspeople watched as the car drove away, their hearts swelling with a mix of joy and relief. They knew they would no longer see the faithful guardian by the gas station, but the image of his devotion would live in their memories forever. He had taught them the meaning of loyalty. Back home, the dog curled up in his old bed, eyes closing in peace. His vigil had ended, replaced by warmth, family, and love. 4 years of waiting had led to one miracle morning. And for everyone who witnessed it, the story became a reminder. Love never truly leaves, it only waits.